Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in because we're just on the eve of the Formula One 2025 World Championship. It's about to start. The time is flying. And today, lads, before we get into the whole nuclear war of racing, let's check out the top three drivers. And if you're trying to fill up the time before the first race of the season, this is a perfect way to do it, and I seriously strongly recommend everybody go to YouTube and watch these three drivers. These are the greatest drivers of all time, and we're going to give it to you right now.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move, he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front with fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number two.
Peter Walsh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in third position, this man really doesn't need an introduction to the racing world. If you're new to the racing world, maybe you've never heard of him, or you might have, this guy, Juan Manuel Fangio. Fangio in at number 3, 5-time world champion. This guy was a machine, a true machine, an animal, this guy. I mean, picture this. No power steering, no high-tech aerodynamics, just a roaring engine, a leather helmet. Yeah, okay? Not like you see here with me every day, lads. A leather helmet. Imagine that, okay? Sheer guts. The cars, I mean, brutal machines, these things. Barely held together by bolts. And the prayers of mechanics, I mean, that's pretty much it. The tracks, I mean, death traps lined with haze of basil, you can't even speak, straw, okay, put it that way, along the edge of the tracks, lads. And it's just, I mean, in this era, this was the pure raw racing back in these days, lads. It really was. One man stood above them all, and that was Fangio. And a driver whose skill wasn't just legendary, it was almost supernatural. I mean, these things were bathtubs on wheels. How the hell they got these things around corners is beyond me, lads. He didn't just race, this guy. He commanded the track. And he did it with such a grace that even his fans and even his rivals were just in pure awe of him. Now, racing back in the 50s, lads, it wasn't just about speed, it was about survival. Okay, like you had to, in many ways, you had to actually go a lot slower into corners because not just because you didn't have the balls, absolutely not. Believe me, these guys had plenty of big balls on them back in these days. So they were letting off because just in case, 10 laps to go, your rubber or tires were so crap that the burnout in the cars could have been so bad that they could have had a near-death experience. It's not like today where, my tires, lads, they're gone, I've barely any grip. These guys were risking their lives when the tires got burnt out. So they had to be extremely careful. So they had the survival in mind. And, like I said, these guys, they had all the balls in the world. They used this as a strategy, though. Okay? They use it as an advantage, pure strategy, to get around the track and win. I mean, safety regulations were non-existent, and every time a driver strapped in, they knew they might not come back. I mean, I don't know if you've heard my episode there when I let it all out there last week, lads, but, I wasn't sure if I was going to come back. But these guys, oh man, this was the D-Day of Omaha Beach. This was for these lads. Many didn't come back. The sport was brutal. Fangio, he thrived in it though, man. And I mean, I can relate to him, here, but like the risk of it, it's a mission, And really, in many ways, this guy, he was untouchable. His competitors were fast. He was faster. And, they were very, very skilled back in the day, don't get me wrong. But Fangio, he was smarter. He had a brain on him. And while others wrestled with their cars a lot of the time, fighting physics and fate, Fangio seemed to just kind of dance with his machine. I mean, watching this guy going around corners was amazing. Sheer, it was ballet, man. And making split-second decisions that just defied logic. Now, Fangio was born in Argentina, 1911. Fangio's racing career, it didn't start on pristine circuits, right, on unforgiving dirt roads. he took part in endurance races, something lasting multiple days, where mechanical failure meant fixing your car on the side of the road. And he really did have a very smart mind mechanically too. In fact, he actually mechanicked on his cars a lot of the time. So in many ways, it did play to his advantage. And these races, it forged him into a master of both precision driving and mechanical sympathy. By the time he reached F1, he wasn't just a racer. The guy was an engineer in many ways, understanding the car that very many didn't. Now then came the race that just defined the guy's legend. The 1957 German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Holy hell. They called it the Green Hell. After a disastrous pit stop, he lost nearly, I think, a minute to his rivals. It was something around this. Now, guys, I'm sure that if you've been watching Formula One, you know that if you lose a minute in a pit stop, you're done, right? You're done. Forget it. Pack your bags, fellas. The war's over for the day. We'll look at the next time. How's that? But for any other driver, the race will be lost. Fangio wasn't just any other driver. What followed was perhaps... People can argue with me on this one, and that's okay. Probably, if not the greatest drive in motorsport history, definitely in the top three. Lap after lap, he obliterated, and I mean obliterated, the track record, pushing his car beyond its limits while remaining in perfect harmony, symphony, control, just dancing with that car, man. He overtook his competitors one by one with just brain surgeon precision, right? And he won the race, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, leaving everyone, including his rivals, stunned. What the hell was that? Think about it. He set 9 consecutive fastest laps. 9, okay? That's each one quicker than the last. It wasn't racing, it was man. Artistry. That race alone. He could have secured his place as, if you think he's the greatest of all time, I won't argue with you. But for Fangio, it was just another day behind the wheel. And by the time he retired, Fangio, he rewrote the record books at this stage. 5 world championships, 4 different teams, and a staggering 24 wins in 51 races. That's 1 in 2, lads. That's incredible. A winning percentage unmatched to this day. His ability to adapt to different cars and teams proved clearly that his success wasn't about machinery. It was about him. And what truly made Fangio legendary wasn't just the trophies, man. It was the respect he commanded. Unlike great champions, Fangio was universally admired, both by teammates and rivals. He was a gentleman of the sport, someone who won with grace and lost with pure dignity. And lads, long after his retirement, Fangio remained a towering figure in motorsport. Drivers who came after him, Clark, Lauda, Prost, Schumacher, Hamilton, Senna, all looked at him as the gold standard. Really, truly. And even Schumacher, after breaking Fangio's championship record, humbly stated, Fangio is on a level on his own. What a sheer gentleman Schumacher was. His impact stretched beyond the racetrack. He helped usher in a more professional era of Formula One, emphasizing the importance of mechanical understanding and discipline and adaptability. And though his record of 5 championships was eventually surpassed, his legacy, it remains untouchable. Fangio wasn't just one of the best of all time. He was timeless. His name doesn't just belong in the history books, man. It defined him in many ways. And in an era where death lurked around every corner, he dominated with an elegance that seemed almost otherworldly. He didn't just race, he redefined what it meant to be a champion. And I will say this, he's not in my top 1 or 2 of all time. But what I'm about to tell you for the rest of these gentlemen in front of him, they all thought he was a god. Genuinely. And, maybe it's kind of like Marlon Brando. Brando was the original. Even Jack Nicholson says that about him. Brando was the greatest of all time in his profession. Now, why am I talking about that? Fangio was the first. He was the original to bring in the mechanical mind into racing. So is he the original? Is he the backbone? One could argue with me on that one. But ladies and gentlemen, I give you Juan Manuel Fangio.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front from fifth all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.